Julian was born March 26, 2019, weighing 6 pounds 6 ounces. He was not premature, but he was born 3 weeks early due to some concerns with his umbilical cord. After he was born, he spent 5 days in the NICU, and nothing concerning came out of it. It was more precautionary. And we noticed probably about a month. It was almost exactly a month after we got him home that his eyes began to shake. I want to say it was the end of April, and I was like, I don't know if that's normal. I'm a first-time parent, so we were like, let's go in and get it checked out. And they're like, yeah, I'll send you to an ophthalmologist. She said it's a stagmus. Um, Usually doesn't cause anything, maybe a little bit of vision problems when they get older. So it's like, okay, not a big deal. Things happen. Um, from there, we go to his constant checkups, and he was borderline failure to thrive for a few months. His birth weight didn't drop so much. It's just that he wasn't gaining, and he fell from it was like the 50 percentile down to like the bottom 5%. Um, so that became sort of a concern. Why is he not gaining weight? We're feeding him, so we started to add formula on top of breast milk. This boy eats, and he still doesn't gain a whole lot of weight. So now we're like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's just gonna be a small child, and that's what they decided. After several months of going in every month to get checked and checked and checked, they were like, I guess this is just who he's gonna be. So I said, okay, that's fine. Not a big deal. He's just a little smaller. And then we've always noticed, and again, I know he was 3 weeks early, so I know there's be some slight delay. So he was, a few weeks or a month or so behind on crawling and a few other milestones, but still within the range. But we noticed that around a year, his ability to walk wasn't there. He would pull himself to his feet, but he couldn't hold balance. He couldn't really move. We noticed his toes were stiff and pointed, and we go to his doctor, say, hey, we got some turns. He's like, well, I'll wait till he's 18 months. At 18 months, they referred us to orthopedics, and he's like, well, it looks like he has mild spastic diplegic cerebral palsy. We're like, okay, it's sort of frustrating, but it's not a big deal. And then, of course, you look at cerebral palsy, a lot of times it's caused during birth. So we looked into that, dealt with a lot of that, and he referred us to a physical therapist who he goes to, and a neurologist just to look and check. So his neurologist wanted an MRI done. She looked at it. She wasn't 100% sure it was cerebral palsy. So like, let's get an MRI. And okay, obviously a little hesitant. You got to put the little man under, so he could stay still to get the MRI. But we eventually got that done and got the results. Second half, end of January of 2021 this year. His MRI came back end of January, early February. And when it came back, it was positive for something called white matter disease or leukodystrophy. Basically, areas of white matter in his brain were highlighting, which is not normal. Our neurologist kind of looked and said, you have to see a specialist. I don't know a lot about this. So I said, okay. All right. What do we do now? And she's like, well, we do some genetic testing, and we'll try to figure out what it is. Because if you look under leukodystrophy, there's a list, 80 or so different possibilities. It's all over the board on what it can cause and what it can do and the effects it can have. But as soon as she said that, I pulled up my phone, and one of the first ones I pulled up, and it started to list things off. So his first signs, usually in the first couple months to weeks of life, is nystagmus, failure to thrive, presents itself like cerebral palsy, so on and so forth. And I kind of knew right then and there what the condition was going to end up being. So we waited, and while we waited for those genetics tests to come back, because it took about 6 weeks or so, he managed to break his leg and chip a tooth, of course. He's confidence to the roof. Unfortunately, he goes hard. But once the results did come back, we found out he was diagnosed with Pelizaeus-Merzbacher Disease, or PMD. This disease is frequently misdiagnosed as cerebral palsy. A lot of parents don't want the MRI, so they don't really pursue it further. So how many exact cases there are of PMD is not known because of this, but it is a very rare disease. Only a few hundred cases are in the United States for PMD specific. So he will continue to improve, grow as a fairly normal child. with development milestones. Maybe he'll get off a walker one day and actually be able to walk. He'll maybe using walking assistance for a while. Then he'll hit sort of a plateau. Usually it's, we'll say 12-year-old-ish. Sort of that late childhood, early adolescence age where his growing is going to slow down a little bit, and the disease will then take over and start to advance. And then it's sort of a neurodegenerative disease. So he'll start a regression of his skills, and his health will start to decline. The average lifespan for this condition is usually 20 to 30 years of age. There's no cure for this disease. We're hopeful being able to get on a clinical trial to learn more about the best way to deal with it and give him the best quality of life. All these numbers I'm giving you of lifespan and other things, because it's a rare disease and they only know so much, it can vary greatly. It can be shorter, it can be significantly longer. Until we can really get seen more by specialists who know more about this, I won't have more on it other than just sort of here's the basic of what we have now. So probably gonna need a little bit of time to get things together. So if you had any questions, it would probably be easiest to leave a comment below and I can respond when I get a chance. We've reached out to a lot of people. I've had family members reaching out to other people. So I figured this would be sort of the best raw information you guys can just sort of get. And then I know people are going to go out and look it up themselves and try to figure it out. So thanks for being patient with us and stuff. And I will keep you guys up to date.